Over 100 million people live in rental housing. More than a third stay 5 years or more. Renting stopped being a waiting room. Here's how to actually design for it without touching a single wall. There's a specific, understandable instinct that shows up in a lot of rental apartments. A reluctance to invest real design thought into a space that isn't technically yours. A sense that serious decisions should wait until there's a mortgage attached to them. This instinct made more sense when renting genuinely functioned as a short stopover. For a growing number of people today, it doesn't function that way anymore. Rent stays high, buying stays out of reach for many, and the average renter now stays put for years, not months. Treating a long-term rental as a temporary holding pattern means living, for years at a time, in a space that never quite gets designed at all. A kind of extended waiting room furnished with whatever showed up first and never fully reconsidered. That's a real cost, measured in years of daily life spent in a space that was never actually resolved. This video isn't about tricking a landlord or working around rules. It's about taking the actual, real constraints seriously and treating them as a design brief worth solving properly, the same way any other constraint on this channel gets treated, not as an excuse to wait. Adhesive hanging strips have become the default renter workaround for anything that would otherwise require a nail or a drill, and they genuinely work well within specific weight limits. Most standard strips hold somewhere in the range of 2 to 8 pounds depending on size, enough for lightweight art, small shelves, or light fixtures, but nowhere near enough for anything heavier without real risk of failure. The mistake that undermines this solution most often isn't using adhesive strips. It's using them for something beyond their actual rated capacity and discovering the failure point at an inconvenient moment. Checking the weight rating before committing and distributing heavier items across multiple strips rather than relying on one is the difference between this being a genuinely reliable renter solution and an unreliable one that happens to work until it doesn't. Within these real limits, adhesive strips open up a surprising amount of design possibility. Layered wall art, small floating shelves, even lightweight curtain hardware, all fully removable, all leaving no trace, as long as the weight math is respected honestly rather than optimistically. Flooring is one of the least changeable elements in a rental. Replacing it outright is rarely an option, and the flooring that came with the unit, whether it's builder-grade laminate, dated tile, or simply not to taste, stays fixed regardless of design intention elsewhere in the room. A large rug is the single most effective tool available for addressing this, because it doesn't work around the existing floor. It functionally replaces it visually across the entire area it covers. A rug sized generously enough to cover most of a room's floor area does more compositional work per dollar than almost any other single purchase available to a renter, instantly changing the room's dominant surface color and texture without touching anything underneath it. This connects to a principle discussed elsewhere on this channel about rug scale specifically. The rug needs to be large enough that furniture legs sit fully on it, not stranded at its edges. For a renter specifically, this isn't just a scale recommendation. It's often the single highest leverage design decision available, because it addresses the one surface in the room that would otherwise be completely fixed and unchangeable for the entire length of the lease. Peel and stick wallpaper has improved enormously in quality over the past several years, to the point where dismissing it as an inherently lesser substitute for paint or traditional wallpaper no longer reflects the actual product available. Modern removable wallpaper can replicate texture, pattern, and even material finish convincingly, and it removes cleanly at the end of a lease without damaging the wall beneath it, which traditional paint or wallpaper simply cannot promise. Applied to a single accent wall rather than an entire room, removable wallpaper can carry the same compositional weight a bold paint color would in a space where paint isn't an option at all, introducing pattern or saturated color at exactly the scale needed without requiring permission or risking a deposit. The renter-specific advantage here is worth stating plainly. This isn't a compromised version of the real design choice a homeowner would make. It's a genuinely different tool, chosen specifically because it accomplishes the same visual goal while remaining fully reversible, an advantage a permanent paint job doesn't actually have. Almost every rental has at least one feature nobody would choose deliberately: a dated light fixture, a visible thermostat or utility panel in an awkward spot, an unattractive built-in that can't be removed. Tension rods, the same spring-loaded hardware used for closet organization, solve a surprising number of these problems without a single hole drilled anywhere. A tension rod mounted inside a window frame or across an alcove can hold a curtain that conceals an unattractive view or an ugly radiator entirely, held in place purely by outward pressure against the surrounding frame. The same hardware can create a temporary room divider, a hanging display for lightweight textiles, or cover open shelving that doesn't match the rest of the room's palette. This is one of the more underused tools in a renter's actual toolkit, largely because it doesn't get marketed specifically as a design solution the way removable wallpaper or command strips do. But the range of problems it solves, entirely without permanent alteration, makes it worth considering before assuming a feature simply has to stay visible and unaddressed for the length of a lease. Furniture arrangement is one of the few design elements available to absolutely every renter, regardless of lease restrictions, that costs nothing and requires no permission at all. And it's frequently underused, treated as a one-time decision made on move-in day rather than an ongoing design tool. Many owner-occupied homes actually arrange furniture less deliberately than a well-considered rental can, simply defaulting to whatever placement seemed obvious when the furniture first arrived. A renter with genuinely limited ability to change walls, floors, or fixtures has every reason to compensate by treating arrangement with unusual care. Testing whether a sofa placed at an angle creates better flow than one pushed against a wall, whether pulling furniture away from the room's perimeter creates a more considered, less rental default feeling than the standard arrangement most units start with. This costs nothing and reverses instantly, which makes it the safest possible place to experiment seriously. A renter who treats arrangement as a real design decision, rather than a fixed starting point, often ends up with a more thoughtfully composed room than a homeowner who never had to think about it because everything else was already permanent. This channel has covered lighting in depth elsewhere, but it deserves a brief mention here specifically because it's one of the fastest, most fully reversible changes available to any renter. Swapping the bulbs in existing fixtures for a warmer color temperature, and adding a couple of lamps at seated height rather than relying on whatever overhead fixture came installed, costs very little and requires zero alteration to anything fixed in the apartment. Every fixture in a rental typically stays exactly as installed for the length of the lease, which makes bulb choice one of the only variables actually available within that fixed hardware. A warm bulb in a cold, clinical rental fixture does real work toward making a space feel considered rather than provisional. If this principle sounds familiar, it's because the same logic from this channel's lighting focus video applies here directly. It's simply worth flagging as one of the renter-specific tools available, since it requires no landlord approval and reverses completely the moment the bulb gets swapped back. There's a counterintuitive effect that comes from working entirely within fully reversible tools, removable wallpaper, tension rods, rugs, arrangement, lighting swaps. Because none of these choices carry permanent risk, they actually invite more boldness than a permanent decision would, not less. A homeowner choosing a wall color has to live with that decision for years unless they're willing to repaint. A renter choosing removable wallpaper can try something genuinely daring, knowing the entire choice reverses in an afternoon if it doesn't work. This reframes the renter's real constraint. The limitation was never really about creative possibility, it was only ever about permanence. Once that distinction is clear, working within full reversibility stops feeling like a smaller version of real design and starts feeling like its own genuinely different, lower-stakes mode of decision-making. This is worth carrying into every choice covered in this video. The absence of permanence isn't the absence of commitment to good design. It's actually a kind of freedom most homeowners don't have. The freedom to be wrong cheaply and quickly and simply try again. A rug that changes the entire floor. Wallpaper that comes off clean. Arrangement that costs nothing and reverses instantly. None of it permanent. All of it real design. Subscribe for more small apartment breakdowns.